Chapter 40. When the disciplinary hearing officer at Leavenworth retired in late 1988, Warden Matthews recommended Eddie George for the job, and the Bureau's regional director Du Bois agreed. George was happy with the promotion. In his mind, it meant the reprimand that he had received 8 years earlier for backhanding a Cuban prisoner had finally been forgiven. Carl Boyles and Thomas Little were also exuberant at the news that George was no longer going to be in charge of A cell house. They were even more pleased when Matthews appointed Lieutenant Torres Germany as the new cell house manager. They had always gotten along well with Germany and felt he would be more receptive than George to Little's pleas for a transfer. They were right. Little walked out of his next unit team review smiling. With George gone, the team had recommended Little for a transfer. Warden Matthews quickly approved it. He was eager to see Boyles and Little separated. Within a week, the Bureau notified Little that he soon would be moved to a new medium security prison opening in Marianna, Florida. Little had spent 18 months in the hot house. From the day that he had first arrived at Leavenworth, all he wanted was to get out. Yet now that he was finally being transferred, he was depressed. Carl and I stayed up talking on the night before I was scheduled to go, Little said. It was so emotional. We talked about everything he had taught me, about how I should carry myself, about all the things we had been through together. I told him, I said, Carl, you are my father now. I said, my real father never cared about me, but you do, so I am making you my father and I am your son. The next morning, Boyles gave Little some parting advice. When you get to Marianna, he said, be careful, keep your mouth shut, and don't trust anyone. Both men laughed. It was the same advice that he had given Little when they first met. As Little told Boyles goodbye, the young inmate couldn't help but notice that the convicted killer, one of the most dangerous inmates in the entire federal system, had tears in his eyes. A few hours later, Little walked down to the front of the penitentiary to a bus that took him to the U.S. Marshal's jet at the Kansas City airport. Guards ordered Little and several other inmates to wait on the runway, as several fish were escorted off the plane and into the bus for its return trip to Leavenworth. Little watched each one pass by and enter the bus, just as he had done a year and a half before. Little said later that he wasn't certain that he was actually leaving Leavenworth until the plane was in the air. I kept waiting for someone to say they had made a mistake and I was going back. As he stared out the window, Little realized that the pilot was swinging northwest to the airport and was about to fly over Leavenworth. He looked down. Far beneath him, the penitentiary's silver dome reflected the morning sunshine.